Each year, scientists, researchers, and everyday people make incredible discoveries, helping us to better understand the world around us. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at interesting discoveries. The US Air Force says real-life force fields are on the horizon. Whether you would rather sit back and enjoy watching The Incredibles, or if seeing the Fantastic Four on your screen is more your thing, from Violet to The Invisible Girl, our TVs have seen plenty of force fields. Though now, according to whispers from the US Air Force, the ever-so-popular science fiction trope could become a reality in a future that is not so far away. An announcement from the Air Force Research Lab released a report in the early summer of 2021 suggesting the force field is within our reach this very century. We seem to be able to cross the threshold between our current weaponry and warfare tactics into the strange and somewhat frightening futuristic weapons we have up until now only been able to imagine. Of course, the mention of a force field was not the only aspect of the Air Force report worth discussing. Plenty of other updates and suggestions came alongside this announcement, all discussing how the military-industrial complex plans on making the most out of directed energy weapons from here on out. The AFRL report presented the claim that the force field technology could be merely decades, if not just years, away from becoming a reality, and that right now we are at a tipping point in the development of weaponry, balancing the huge advancements that we can see are just around the corner, but with them out of reach enough that we can continue to develop the less revolutionary equipment we already have in use. The potential force field that we may be able to create sometime soon has been described as umbrella-like. Its purpose would, unsurprisingly, be to deflect missile attacks, localizing several directed energy weapons. In the initial phases, these weapons to make the force fields will be aided by vehicles they will be mounted to. Though in the long term, after more success and as the force field research develops, it is hoped that they can be lifted into space where a laser can attack within set radiuses. The report stated, by 2060, a sufficiently large fleet or constellation of high-altitude systems could provide a missile defense umbrella as part of a layered defense system, if such concepts prove affordable and necessary. This technology would certainly mark an impressive scientific turn, though like any new research, costs could leave the concept with a question mark. While many in the department and in the field hope for this technology to come about in some form or another by 2060, we do not know how quickly these developments can take place between now and then, so predictions are currently little more than excited speculations and shocking new concepts. The current progress shows that there are a number of energy-directed weapons already under construction. It was announced earlier on in 2021 that the US Army is developing what they have dubbed the world's most powerful laser. This laser should be able to use various pulses and signals to interfere with enemy signals and vaporize targets. This laser has the wonderfully catchy name of the Tactical Ultra-Short Pulsed Laser for Army Platforms. The hope is that this overwhelming piece of equipment will be 1 million times more powerful than existing and therefore rival laser platforms. So while we may be lacking some sci-fi elements from your favorite movies and comic books, the weird and wonderful technology is drawing nearer and nearer each day. We might not be fighting with capes and colourful tights, but the weapons, rightly or wrongly, are getting closer to those on the big screen. Artificial intelligence study of human genome finds unknown human ancestor. As amazing and wonderful as the human brain is, sometimes there are things that it simply cannot tell us about ourselves without a little extra help. One of the things that scientists rely on artificial intelligence for is extensive analysis of both human and animal genomes to determine relationships and attempt to track the pattern of evolution through the millennia. Recently, one of these artificial intelligence studies discovered the presence of a strange ghost population that predated the human species that we are today. The analysis, which was performed by artificial intelligence using machine learning technology, looked at 8 of the current leading models of theorized human evolution and discovered traces of an unknown human ancestor that likely interbred with the Homo sapiens of Asia and Oceania. This mysterious population of ancestors was hidden until now, because the only thing remaining to hint at its presence are small, virtually indistinguishable fragments of DNA that remain interspersed within modern human DNA, and it was not until machine learning pointed it out to us. This unidentified ghost population appears to be a descendant of interbreeding between the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. Remarkably, the 90,000-year-old fossilized remains of a girl appearing to be the only example of the result of a first-generation mixing between a Neanderthal and a Denisovan was discovered recently, leading scientists to wonder whether she was a forerunner to this newly identified ghost population. The Denisovans themselves were only discovered and catalogued as a species a decade ago, making these subsequent discoveries missing pieces to a very recent puzzle. Scientists have long understood that the early humanoid species interbred with other species as they spread across the globe and encountered each other. Over time, these species gave rise to new species, and then went extinct as the modern Homo sapiens evolved. However, identifying the smaller populations that arose from that interbreeding, such as the unions between the Neanderthals and Denisovans, has proved exceedingly difficult. This recent artificial intelligence discovery, pointing to a distinct ancestor of both Neanderthal and Denisovan origins, has allowed scientists to begin to understand how introgressions between ancient species caused diversions in the human genome that allowed the painstaking evolution into the first modern-day Homo sapiens to occur. Artificial intelligence was able to make this discovery because of its ability to identify locations of high divergence in the human genome to indicate locations of potential introgressions between species, and further compare the genetic material at these locations, a task that would be almost impossibly painstaking otherwise. This is only the latest in a series of examples demonstrating the usefulness of artificial intelligence in genetic research because of the ability to utilize machine learning to accurately analyze and compare millions upon millions of pieces of ancient DNA with the DNA of modern humans, identifying patterns and connections that otherwise would have gone unnoticed. This has allowed scientists to begin the process of resolving some of the questions that have previously been left unanswered in order to piece together our ancient origins. An archaeologist said that parts of Stonehenge were there before humans. Stonehenge is one of the largest mysteries in the UK. Found in the Salisbury Plain, the stone circular monument has invited plenty of questions throughout the years, with many tourists popping by to see the strange stone circle. No matter how popular the site has become, this wonder of the world has had many people asking why the stones were moved to a seemingly random hill in Salisbury, and who put the stones there. Now, after years of research, some archaeologists believe they may have some more answers. Mike Pitts, an archaeologist who is just one of a few to have had the opportunity to carry out excavations at Stonehenge, is at the forefront of this 2018 research. He has suggested that the largest, most important stones at Stonehenge, known as sarsens, could have been sat on that Salisbury hillside for millions of years, predating humans in the area. In the 1970s, archaeologists thought that the sarsens did not naturally form on Salisbury Plain, but rather that the people who built the fascinating monument randomly chose this hillside and lugged the ginormous stones from Marlborough Downs, which sits 20 miles away. For decades, this was a prompt for many questions. Why would you move the stones so far when it would be far easier to build Stonehenge in Marlborough Downs? Though evidence found by researcher Mike Pitts could answer this question. Two of the stones, Stone 16 and Heelstone, are not carved or altered at all in their shape. A much more fascinating characteristic is that when the stones line up, they match up to the horizon where the sun sets on the winter solstice and rises come the summer solstice. Thousands of years ago, stones that track the sun so nicely could have had quite the role to play. Stone 16 and Heelstone are presumed to have had a great deal of significance to the nearby residents when the structure was built. Pitts' evidence that the stones have been here all along and were not dragged up the hillside is founded from two holes close to the stones. Close to the base of the Heelstone, a hole 20 feet in diameter was found. Pitts' theory is that this was once a hole with the Heelstone inside it, as it is too large to have been dug to support one of the stones forming Stonehenge as we see it today. Pitts believes the stone was excavated and placed higher on the same hillside, hence the odd hole. He stated, "If you are going to move something that large, you would dress it before you move it, to get rid of some of the bulk." He continued, explaining that this suggests it has not been moved very far. The other noteworthy hole is one close to Stone 16. Similarly to the hole by the heel stone, it is thought that the stones could have been moved to be higher and line up along the solstice axis, followed by the rest of Stonehenge. Further research has shown that the stones were formed in the Tertiary period, and Pitts explained that research planned for the future using radiocarbon dating will hopefully show features we associate with Middle Neolithic ritual features, proving our theories correct. There are plenty of theories floating around about Stonehenge, from where it came from and what it was for, with some even suggesting that it was a burial site during the late Neolithic period. Evidence for this also uses the two holes mentioned above, as well as bones around the site too. Other theories focus on the way they align not only with the sun, but the moon and stars too, suggesting some sort of celestial significance. Another popular idea surrounds healing properties. With so many ideas and theories around, it can be tricky to differentiate the archaeological from the speculatory. The age of Stonehenge and how it was built may continue to be a mystery, though it does feel as though we are continuously uncovering more and more. Perhaps in the not-too-distant future, we'll find a more concrete answer. Scientists say that a cosmic impact destroyed Jordanian city. I'm sure that plenty of us are familiar with the biblical story discussed in the book of Genesis. Sodom and Gomorrah, two towns known for their wickedness and sin, were destroyed by God. It is one of a number of Bible stories detailing God's anger that was provoked by sin. These two cities in particular were destroyed with a rain of fire and brimstone. Other details include angels saving Lot, though as he leaves with his two daughters, his wife is turned into a pillar of salt. Scientists have been studying the demise of an ancient city, Tal el-Hammam, an archaeological site in Jordan, and this is where they may have found an astronomical explanation for this biblical tale. This newfound evidence is actually 3,600 years old, but it seems to suggest that Tal el-Hammam was ruined by what is being described as a cosmic airburst. Some researchers, having found this evidence, think that the biblical story of Sodom could have been inspired by the celestial impact upon Tal el-Hammam. After all, something from space that causes bricks and clay to melt does sound suspiciously similar to a rain of fire and brimstone. What was once pottery had been melted into glass, mud brick was described as bubbled, and building materials melted beneath a burn layer of 5 feet in depth. James Kennett, one author of the paper detailing the cosmic impact, said, "We saw evidence for temperatures greater than 2,000 degrees Celsius. He continued to elaborate, saying that the biggest surprise in this discovery is the shocked quartz. This produces sand grains that can only form under intense amounts of pressure. Quartz is one of the hardest minerals. This is a rather rare occurrence. This was in keeping with cosmic airbursts from 1908 in Siberia, leading many to believe that Tal el-Hammam also saw a cosmic airburst. Another noteworthy link between Sodom and Tal el-Hammam is the salt. In the biblical tale, as Lot and his family are led away by angels, they are told not to turn around and look. His wife does, against the advice of the angels, and turns into a pillar of salt. Researchers found that nearby to the Dead Sea, there was an abnormal concentration of salt, suggesting there was an impact close by. Kennett explains that salt was thrown up due to the high impact pressures, possibly meaning the meteor hit the Dead Sea. So far, scientists have confirmed that the details in Genesis align with a cosmic airburst, and that currently the evidence at Tal el-Hammam aligns with that of Sodom. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.